So, Theresa May fully expects to be Prime Minister. Now, that may well be true, and in no doubt a couple of years there will be another investigation into the whys and wherefores of how she got there. Theresa May seems to be doing the rounds, that's for sure, but leaving by the back door and having members of the media apparently locked in a room. Which, actually, in some cases, might not be a bad thing. So, what does Theresa May's campaign look like? Well, considering as we have all heard the invite only at Brislington, one could suggest it is still aimed at the elites. The invitees, if that's the right word, may not be elites, but it could be argued they were hand-picked. What is Theresa May afraid of? Now, she won't debate in the presence of Jezza. She would rather knock on doors in the middle of the day. Again, it could be argued that most people are at work. Is that what she's hoping for? Doors go unopened, questions go unanswered. And now, with a strong and stable leadership towards Brexit, which Theresa May says again is why she is having a snap election, she can't even recall what was said during a meeting with the EU. But is it down to the fact she can't recall, or down to the fact that Juncker may have pointed out a few home truths and May and her entourage didn't actually like what he said? Now, it strikes me that as our selected and not elected, remember, Prime Minister, was or is she up for the role, as I've been saying from the start. Someone has obviously advised her that an election would be beneficial for the Conservatives, but now she is under fire and, dare I say, maybe under even more pressure. Are the cracks beginning to show? She has come out and said, as I said at the top, she fully expects to be Prime Minister, remain Prime Minister. If she does, then I fully expect, again, I said at the top, in a couple of years the Tories will no doubt be under investigation once again. Now remember this video from the Brexit vote. This did the rounds quite a lot. Now, I don't actually recall, I'm doing it now, I don't recall there being anyone that looked into this. Is this the type of thing we could expect in the upcoming election? Don't forget, always use a pen. Now, I think we must keep our eyes peeled, but we also must keep our eyes peeled for underhand techniques by the Tories. Now, remember I said on Tuesday, the illusory of truth effect, but the other sinister side of the campaign are the donations to further fuel the campaign for the race for number 10. Whilst Labour seeks most of its donations from members, the Conservatives have raised quite a bit already, it seems, from wealthy donors. Now, who do you think them wealthy donors are? Private medical care companies maybe? Private bankers as well maybe? Labour, on the other hand, have not gained any donations from the wealthy. Why do you think that is? Could we see, if Theresa May remains, a few more chunks taken out of the NHS in return for these donations? But then donators may well find it hard on the pocket after giving all that money to Theresa May's corrupt gang. After all, the London School of Economics did a study on 30 anonymous people, yes, anonymous, who are in the richest 1% of this country. 5 of them had wealth of £100 million and 3 from the Sunday Times rich list, but one of them apparently said, oh my days, she didn't feel her income was high in relation to many others in London working in finance. Must be hard, must it? You got to feel for her, haven't you? One investment bank who earns, and I quote, hundreds of thousands a year, said he doesn't feel particularly wealthy compared to other parents at his children's private school. Now, what about next to the nurses, who we all heard, who are having to use food banks? Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't one of the wealthy Tory donators. And here comes the clincher for me. One banker said, I feel like I'm fairly well off and I earn multiples of 100,000s, but I feel very poor in the context of the classmates of my children. I'd say 9 out of 10 of the classmate parents have over 100 million. That to me feels wealthy. but earning 100,000 just doesn't. Earning a few 100,000 doesn't feel that great. And there you have it, in a country run by a Tory government. But the reports, and we have all seen them, about reporters being locked in rooms during a factory visit and only talking to Conservative activists, tell me, in my opinion, once again, she can't really be up to the job. She doesn't know how to deal with questions outside her comfort zone. It is almost, and as I've always said again, it's like she is a puppet and she has been fed a string of things to say, and any chance of dealing with the real public may jeopardise that agenda or that kind of practice. And what is that agenda? Well, I say again, it's in plain sight. It's in sight for all of us to see. They are trying to get the NHS privatised, but this tends to go unnoticed with the subconscious bombardment of Brexit fear. This being repeated over and over again. And rather than seek votes purely on their own policies, they seek rather to ridicule other parties that they think may be a threat. Perhaps they would rather their policies stay hidden. Policies like the bedroom tax, denying disability benefits to at least 165,000 people. Yeah, that's a good one. In fact, they are trying to draw attention as well away from massive hikes to tuition fees, or this one that certainly in face value sounds deplorable, making rape victims prove their ordeal by filling in an 8-page government form. Not something I think the first thing a rape victim ever thinks of doing first. But if you are one of the many members of the public that wish to vote Conservative for fear of Labour taking us back into the EU, maybe this next policy from the Tories might change your mind. The public sector pay freeze. This means, and you may already know that, civil servants, nurses, teachers, police, armed forces and the like who entered work on a good wage could well be worse off in real terms in their early 30s. And while this is in place, back in February, Royal Bank of Scotland was set to pay around £340 million in bonuses, despite being set to announce huge annual losses. Our Royal Bank of Scotland, of course, is more than 70% owned by the government after being bailed out in 2008. That's a nice one. So the Conservatives, is this really the party you want to see kept in as government? I mean, seriously, being investigated for fraud, tax cuts for corporations and elites and the wealthy, and making cuts to your public. There does seem to be a growing pattern from way back when. Me, I voted for Brexit. I'll always hold my hands up with that. But I would welcome, albeit rather grudgingly, us staying in at the hands of Corbyn if it meant the Tories being outed and none of these policies being made to materialise. Look at the policies, the long-term effects that they will have. Don't listen to what any party is saying, and even as a Labour member, I mean Labour as well, look at the policies and the long-term damage they could have, or even the benefits they could have, and then make your decision. Do what's right. Do you really want your children to grow up with a government that blatantly lies? They take part in fraudulent activities and is clearly, we can all see it, selling off our NHS. Do the right thing, because united we can have a better society and a better political system. As always, do you have any comments on what I've said? Can you elaborate on what I've said? Have your say in the comments below. Best comments, as always, will be posted on Twitter on Sunday, and you can see them comments here. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't miss out on an episode on the run up to the election. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again next week. Bye bye for now.
Each and every one of us must step up for this country, including me. In the 34 years since I became a Member of Parliament, I never heard a clear invitation for everyone in the country to work together and create a real alternative to our rigged economy. That political leaders can, if they want to, create and preserve the space for others to organise and transform countries and their own communities. Whereas insecure leaders want to feel stronger by asking you to give them more power, I recognise strong leadership as equipping you with more power. I'm in this job because I believe there is a better way. It's about rejecting the reassurances or simple slogans from government. It's about sharing ideas and deciding upon real and lasting answers. We have ideas for a better tomorrow, and we are going to respond together. If you want someone to hold that space open for you and help change the direction of your life and our country, then I'm proud to be the leader of this party. Because it's only through unleashing our talent that this country can succeed on the world stage.